Tiffany Young with IdeateTV, and I'm here at Wondercon, and I just met Bill Morrison. He is the president of the National Cartoonists Society.
Correct.
Give us a little background on the society, how it came about, and what you guys do.
Well, the National Cartoonists Society was born in 1946, so we've been around. This is our 71st year. It actually came about because during the war, during World War II, there were all these cartoonists who didn't know each other. They were all famous cartoonists. They were in all the newspapers. And they were recruited to do USO tours where they would go and draw for the troops, draw for the soldiers. They were overseas. For many of them, it was the first time they had ever met. They all knew each other just through their fame. But they spent a lot of time overseas together. They came back home after the war. They decided, hey, you know, we've made these friendships. We should sort of keep this going. Let's get together and have dinner once a month or something like that. And they did that a little bit and then decided, you know, this is great. Let's make this a formal organization. So it's a fraternal organization. Started out with mostly newspaper strip cartoonists, but then quickly expanded to comic book artists, magazine illustrators, greeting card artists, animators. So we've got over 500 of the top cartoonists in the world, covering, like I said, all aspects of cartooning from animation to comics to newspapers, making this, Wondercon, the perfect place for us.
Right. So what are some of the things that the members do? Are there different chapters? Are they split up, and do they have meetings?
Yes, we have chapters. We have about 20 chapters across the country. So they're kind of based on where the population centers are, you know, where cartoonists live. So big ones in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Out here in California, we've got Los Angeles. We've got one in San Diego. We've got an Orange County group. And then in the middle of the country, they're a little bit more sporadic, but most of them meet once a month if they can. Some of them are in places where some of their members might have to drive 5 hours to get to a meeting, so they don't meet as often. But most of the big cities are pretty active. And we do things, I mean, I mentioned we're a fraternal organization, but one of the things that we like to do is reach out and make the world a better place through cartooning. So we do children's hospital visits. We actually have a foundation, the NCS Foundation, which is our charitable arm. And so we do hospital visits, we do USO tours, we send cartoonists over to visit the troops. We support educational programs for young cartoonists. We have a scholarship for kind of budding young cartoonists, many of them still teenagers, still in school. We work with museums to put on exhibits and public outreach and that sort of thing. Yeah.
So it sounds like a very charitable organization that stands by its traditions as well.
Very much so, yes.
I see. And how did you get involved with the organization? Are you an artist?
Yes, I'm a cartoonist. I joined in the mid-90s, and I was a cartoonist for The Simpsons.
Really?
Yes, and I knew some people who were in the NCS, and they said, hey, you're a professional cartoonist now, you should join, so I did. And it's great. Every year we have an annual convention in a different city. This year it's in Portland, Oregon. Last year it was in Memphis, Tennessee. And I remember my first one was in Pasadena, here in California. So I got to meet Charles Schultz, who does Peanuts, or did Peanuts before he passed on. I got to meet a bunch of my heroes, and it was great. So I remained in the organization just as a general member. Eventually I got on the board, and now here I am. Somehow I became president. This is my good friend Sergio Aragones. Remember a minute ago I was mentioning really famous members?
Right.
He's one of our most famous members. And I love him like a brother. He's one of the dearest men I've ever met.
Did you meet him through the organization?
I met him through the organization. He's a cartoonist for Mad Magazine primarily. So he's been doing Mad Magazine since 1962, I believe. And yeah, so it's just a wonderful organization where, you know, once a year we get to hang out with our friends and our heroes, and the rest of the year we're involved with our chapters and doing things to help make the planet a better place to live in.
Very cool. So up and coming cartoonists or artists can also join the
Yes.
organization?
Actually, we're inaugurating a new program where it's called the 27 Club. That's the nickname. And it's basically for young cartoonists under the age of 28. And we're offering a very low membership fee. It's basically for cartoonists who are young professionals, but maybe they're not making all of their income by cartooning at this point, but they're working towards that. So it's a way of reaching out to younger people who maybe can't afford to be a member like they would have had to in the past, because we have like an annual membership fee. And for a lot of people we've heard over the years, well, I'm just starting out, I'm professional, but I can't afford the dues every year. So we're reaching out and making it easy for them to be a part of our group while they're expanding their career and developing and growing. And but once they're 28, you know,
They're cut off.
yeah,
But until then, they can get some mentorship and be a member.
yeah.
Okay.
And once they're 28, by that time they'll be established and they'll be able to afford the annual dues and
Yeah,
no problem. So
makes sense.
yeah.
So you said this was your first year at Wondercon. How is it going so far?
It's going great. I've been coming to WonderCon myself for years, and I love this convention. I always call it Comic-Con Light because
I like that.
Comic-Con, as you know, because you've been there, it's gotten...
never.
Oh, you've never been
This
there?
is my first con ever.
Okay, are you going to Comic-Con this year?
I would like to.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I would love to.
But it's like this, but bigger and maybe more crowded, kind of overwhelming from what I've heard for people who go for the first time. I started going back in the 80s when it wasn't hard to get in and it wasn't hard to move around, it wasn't as crowded, it wasn't as big. But WonderCon's always been really my favorite show because it's like it has everything Comic-Con has, but it's not as overwhelming. Yeah.
So where can we find the NCS if somebody
NCS
wanted to look up information?
The NCS is online. It's Rubin.org, and the reason it's Rubin.org is there are a lot of organizations with the initials NCS, but our annual the award that we give out every year for the Outstanding Cartoonist of the Year is known as the Rubin Award, and it's named for Rube Goldberg, who was one of the cartoonists who started the organization back in the 40s. So we named the award after him, and so it's Rubin.org, REUBEN.org. You can see updates of news. You can see who all the members are. There's a members page. You can see what all our awards are, what our activities are throughout the year.
Well, it sounds good. All right. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.